Hello, everyone. This is Dr. B from Steps to the Future, coming to you with another college and career conversations with Dr. B. With this being Women's History Month, I am so thrilled that my guest today is a woman. So we get to hear about a woman-owned business and learn a little bit about her educational and career journey. But before we begin, I just want to do my little 2-second commercial. I do distribute, as you know, a college and career newsletter called Steps. So if you are interested in getting some monthly news, please use this URL to subscribe to Steps. The March newsletter will be coming out this weekend. So make sure you get your subscription in. And I am trying to increase my subscribers on my YouTube channel. So I would love it if you would go to this URL, bit.ly steps cc, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. So the videos that you watch are playing on Facebook, but they're also playing on my YouTube channel. And additionally, I will put some other recorded videos on the YouTube channel. So please take some time and subscribe. And the one other thing I wanted to share with you now, let me make sure I get this right. You know, we're always doing all this stuff with all our different stuff. So I just wanted to share with you. Let's see if I can do this right. Yes. So I have started a new part on my blog. It's called In Step With. So I have reached out to former students that I worked with who are current college students or graduated recently and asked them, just write a short blog about something that's going on in your life, of lessons that you learned in college. So this is my first one. So I am so proud to present In Step with Hulon Jenkins to you. He is a senior in computer engineering at the University of Michigan. So take some time to read his article about internships and the importance of working with a team. So take care of that. And that is going to be my the end of my commercials for today. So again, go grab your cup of tea, coffee, whatever soft beverage you're liking, and join us in a minute. Hey, welcome back, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, remember, make sure you share this out for those of you that are watching. If you're here on live, let us know who you are and where you're from. So let me do a brief introduction of our guest this evening. We have with us this evening Janae McCullough Boyd, who is an independent educational consultant, and she's the founder of More Than Athletics, LLC. Janae is a married mom of two intelligent, I love that, and talented student athletes, two wonderful daughters, and two precious grandchildren. I'm jealous because I'm having like grandmother envy over here. Janae holds a bachelor and master's degree of science, degrees in accounting from Ball State University. She has completed the professional development program on advising the college-bound student athlete and is currently enrolled in the Independent Educational Consultant Certificate Program at the University of California, Irvine. Along with her 20 years of corporate experience, which we're going to hear some about, she has equally volunteered her time to organizations that support the growth of young people and underserved populations. Janae is an associate member of the Independent Educational Consultants Association, a provisional member of the Higher Education Consultants Association, member of the Indiana Association for College Admission Counseling, member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, and serves as a member of the board of directors for a local private foundation. Janae, welcome, and thank you so much for joining us this evening.
Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, it is so thrilling to have a fellow colleague in the IEC business. I remember I was talking to someone earlier in the week, last week, and they said to me, "Okay, so you're going to have someone on your show who does the same thing that you do. Like, isn't that kind of competition?" I said, "Look, just like they have hundreds and thousands of doctors in the United States or in the same state or in the same city, everybody is going to choose what works for them. So we don't, one of the things I love about us and about our groups that we're in is we're collaborative. It's about showcasing and uplifting each other. And I was just really thrilled about, your whole thing where you focus on student athletes. So before we get into that, tell us a little bit about your educational career. Accounting, how did that come about for you? Were you a great math student in college?
Well, yes, I've always loved math. When I, grew up, math was my passion. And so when I went to Ball State, I said, you know what, I want to be a math teacher. Well, my academic advisor quickly set me down at Ball State and she said, with your student loans, I don't recommend that you become a teacher. So I said, okay. I either wanted to go into the FBI because they were hiring accountants at the time, and I did have a passion for criminal justice. And so that is how I started my accounting career, thinking I was going to go into the FBI possibly. And so decided not to go that route and just traditionally go into public accounting afterwards. So.
Okay, so why the FBI? How did that become an interest of yours?
Well, I am a crime junkie, and probably a rule follower as well. And so that whole world fascinates me. And it's so funny because both of my children have interest in that field. So my oldest son is actually getting a criminal justice degree, and my youngest is deciding between criminal profiling or psychiatry. So I
Oh
think,
my goodness. Oh my goodness. So it runs in the family. Runs in the
yes.
family. So tell us, when you were at Ball State, did you ever have opportunities to do any types of internships or research projects while you were there as a student, whether in your bachelor's program or in your master's program?
Well, there were, I would say at that time, very few and far between. I mean, this was
Mm.
20 something years ago. So it was not pushed or encouraged as much it is as it is now. So we had speakers come in and tell about their experiences in the accounting field. But as far as the internships, they were few and far between. And I actually was in the era of, I don't know if you're familiar with the whole Arthur Anderson scandal, but that was during my time. That was a large accounting firm that crumbled because of Enron and all of that. So it was a weird time, and also that was the time where they changed the laws for to become a CPA. So you had to go an extra year to get
Okay.
your license. I did not go on to get my license, but I did stay that extra year and got my master's. So in that time, I was just, it was a weird time for accounting, but it was for the better. So.
Okay, that's interesting. So I don't remember. I'll have to look that up about that scandal. I don't remember that. But just like you, I come from an era, and I know way before you, where internships weren't something that were really talked about during my time in college. It was more about, I went into education to be a teacher, so it was more about making sure that I did my practicum in my student teaching. So I guess for me, that was my type of internship. But I don't remember other students really doing it that much. And like you said, that nowadays it's something that we talk to our students about all the time. Make sure you're
Absolutely.
getting an internship. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about, so tell me about your work in the corporate world as someone who did accounting. Like, What was that like? What did you like about the work? What did you dislike about the work? What was a typical day like, if there was such a thing as a typical day?
Well, there probably wasn't a typical day. So for the first 8 years, I was in public accounting. And so I worked with large corporations, individuals, and very early on, I started with doing taxes and audit work. So I did that for the first 3 years and then made the decision to really focus on the tax world, and had my children during that time. So the busy seasons from January to May are
Mm,
extremely hectic and tiring. You're working like 70 plus hours a week. And I did that for 8 years.
oof.
Um, yes, and decided, you know what, it's time to make a transition. So I ended up moving to the corporate side and
Mm,
working for a large steel manufacturer here in our town for 12 years. And that I also focused on taxes as well. But very much a business consultant for the division that I was assigned to, making sure that, you know, sales tax and income tax and franchise tax, and educating the staff on those things so they knew what to, you know, recognize when those things came across their desk.
Okay. So, folks that are watching or that are joining us, please make sure you say hello in the comments. Let us know who you are. Let us know where you're from. We'd really appreciate that. Make this a real conversation by joining in. So, Janae, so you stayed in the corporate world for a while. What made you decide to leave?
Well, starting this business was the huge thing, but it really was a transition and a process. As you mentioned in the introduction, I have spent the last 20 plus years volunteering either in the school system, sitting on boards with my sorority, and that's always been my love and my passion. I say that accounting was my job to make a living and take care of my family, but my true passion and my heart has always been in helping youth, underserved populations, and being extremely, being an advocate for education, because I know that that is what
Mm,
definitely got me to where I am today. So through that, and then going through the recruiting process and admissions with my oldest son, my husband was like, you know what? You've been talking about a change. How about you think about doing something like that? And at first, I thought he was nuts. Um, yes. And so I said, okay. So I started researching and I was like, oh, there's this thing called an independent educational consultant. This is really a thing. And so, like I do everything else, as soon as I decide on something or want to learn more about it, I completely throw myself into it and research. And I was like, you know what? I can do this. Lots of prayer. I had to, you know, pray about walking away from a 20-year career and an
mm,
amazing job. And could I afford it? And that was in November of 2020.
oh,
And then February 2021, I left 4 months later and launched my company.
oh, congratulations. And you did it during the middle of a pandemic.
I did. And so, and that was probably another thing too. We were starting to transition back to the office. And I know some people don't like Zoom, but I'm
Mhm.
a Zoom girl. And
Yeah.
so to go back to the office full time in a pandemic, really kind of, it was a little nerve wracking. And so
Mm.
I was just ready to go out on my own and forge my own path.
Oh, good for you. Good for you. So tell us about the extra coursework that you've been taking. So first of all, I mentioned the one that you did about advising student athletes. So tell us a little bit about that and what made you decide to go into that specialty.
Well, to go into that specialty, you know, was really going through the process with my son, and the recruiting process and learning the one frustrations, that we endured going through that process. I think as a parent, you have a lot of misconceptions about being recruited, because you think, oh, I'm spending all this money on training, or they're playing high school ball. But there is so much more to recruiting. Recruiting and college admissions and college athletics, at the end of the day, it is a true business. Yes, they want to educate your child. They want your child to grow. But at the end of the day, it is a business. And me being in the field for 20 years, I quickly realized that. So that was, really why I focused on that. And then through my research, found the student athlete advisor, and one of our fellow IECs is the owner of that company, and her and the late Dave Steckel during that time, and went through that 11-part series, teaching you how to help student athletes go through the process. And it wasn't just the recruiting process, but also how to balance their academics with the two and marry the two so they can find the best fit school. So that was the first educational course that I took in becoming an IEC. Amazing course, and I highly recommend, if that's something someone wants to go into or be interested in, is to take that course.
Okay. And so now you're currently in the program at UC Irvine. So tell us about that, because people, I think sometimes people, we still feel like, or I still feel like we're such a new profession, even though IECA has been around since 1976. But people sometimes don't understand exactly what independent educational consultants do and the multiple pathways that people have taken, um, and have become IECs. We come from all walks of life. It's not just education. So tell us about the program that you're doing at UC Irvine, which is one of a handful of certificate programs.
Yes. So can I first say I turned in my last assignment today. I am officially
Yay!
done.
Yay!
Yes, yes. So I am going to be celebrating. I started the program last January of 2021, and so I am officially complete. So yeah, lots of celebration here today. Great program, and it takes you from what is an IEC, really the foundation of an IEC, counseling techniques, but also I like the fact that for those who are not business minded or entrepreneurial minded, also teaches you how to run your business. And then there's different elective courses on financial aid, and then how to help transfer students or gap year students, also international students, how to market your business. And then through all of those courses, you have a practicum at the end. And so you're working with a student, and it's led by an advisor. And that wraps up the course. But the course is just truly amazing. As you said, people from all walks of life are in this program. And I've met people from all over the world. I mean, I have people from China and Europe in my classes. And, there's attorneys, former admissions, teachers, former business people. All of us come from different walks of life, have different perspectives. And that's been amazing to learn from other people, and why they have decided to join this profession.
Oh, that's great. That's great. I know when I joined, it's funny, I tell people, I didn't join intentionally. When I moved from New England to North Carolina, I just figured, oh, I'm just going to continue working in colleges. And lo and behold, could not get a job, but knew I needed to continue working for my sanity, if not for any other reason. And that's when I had gone home to a conference, the Rhode Island School Counselor Association conference. And one of my colleagues, Erin Flynn, who's in admissions at New England Institute of Technology. Said, well, why don't you become a independent? And I'm like, what? What is that? I don't know if I really want to do that. And had the opportunity to learn more about it, going to a NACAT conference where Mark Scalaro, who's the CEO of IECA, was doing a session on transitioning to private practice. And I said, oh, this sounds like something that might be of interest to me. So I think, when did I go? So I started my business in 2011. And yeah, so have been hanging in there a little bit, but love doing the work. So you were talking about, doing the coursework and stuff. Out of the courses that you took, is there one that stood out as your favorite, or where you felt that it really help strengthen your knowledge of a particular area?
It was probably the resources classes.
Hmm.
And that was a class that gave you lots of just different tools to use with your students and also in your business. So, I use a system called Guided Path, but it gave you the knowledge to learn about all the different systems that are very popular with us IECs, and just different tools, different books, Coursava that we use with our students, the Coursava cards that talks about a student's priorities. So that gave a lot of information to me to put in my toolbox and help my students.
Okay, that's great. Now, folks that are watching in, please, make some comments out there. Like I said, this is a conversation. We're also trying something. I did it a couple of weeks ago, but I'm going to try it again this week, where we have a raffle gift for audience members. But you got to participate. You can't be out there and be quiet. So let us know what your comments are, what your thoughts are, or just come in the comment section and say, hey, how you doing? Say hello to Janae. So let's not be quiet out there. So Janae, when in starting your company, what was your biggest challenge in starting your company?
I think the biggest challenge was just educating my area on what an IEC does and what they are. Here in the Midwest, it's a little less popular than the East Coast and the West Coast. So, when I tell people, oh, I'm an independent educational consultant, they're like, oh, what is that? And so I explain, and I think sometimes there's some confusion of, oh, well, isn't that what a school counselor does? And so just overcoming some of the either lack of knowledge or the misconceptions of what an IEC does has probably been the biggest uphill battle.
Yeah, I had quite a few conversations early in my business life about, well, they have a school counselor. Why do they need you? And it's really explaining to folks that we supplement what a school counselor does. We don't
Mhm.
supplant. And it's important to remember that. And I tell all of my students, I said, you're a school counselor. And having been a school counselor, I firmly believe in that. Your school counselor is your first line of defense. But just like if we have students that are um, musically inclined and they want to get some practice or some skills or build up some expertise beyond what they get in school, then they might go to music lessons outside of school. Someone that wants to become a writer may be taking, some writing courses and getting some extra assistance. So it's similar. It's similar. Somebody needs a tutor. They'll go, they may go to a tutor outside of the school system. So again, it's really important that people realize that we supplement what a school counselor does. We do not supplant what school counselors, because school counselors are important. And for me, that's my ASCA, my American School Counselor Association hat that I'm putting on as still a member of that association. So right now, you're going through this with your son.
Yes.
So so now you're getting to do it as a person who is in the business of doing this and as a parent. So, what are some differences or similarities between going through this with your older son and now going through it with your second son?
Well, I will say, and like we talked before we got on screen, both of my kids are amazing, but they're extremely different. And so they want different things. And so that's one thing I will tell any parent. If you go through admissions with one child, don't assume that your next child wants the same thing, because they have their own set of ideals and passions. But going through it a second time, one as a parent and then also as an IEC, I'm a whole lot more knowledgeable, and can navigate the pitfalls. Also, on the recruiting side, I'm a whole lot more knowledgeable on that side as well. So, starting early is the key. With my oldest son, we didn't really start reaching out to coaches until, fall of his senior year. And now we've been doing this process with my younger son for over a year now, who is a junior in high school. And so he has been able to get into doors that my oldest son was not able to get into because we've started early.
Okay, that's great. See, that's good advice. So, folks out there that have student athletes, I hope you're taking some notes and you're writing this down, because this is important information. I think one of the things that always concerns me is that when people have to make such important decisions, because sending your child to college is a family decision, because it's expensive. It puts stress on families at different points along the way. So it's really important that you're having these conversations, and that you're having these conversations early, and that you're getting information that's going to help you, not information that's going to harm you. So I love that, what you just said about starting early, and knowing that that's that's absolutely necessary in order to do that. So what other piece of advice would you give a parent that's going through this with a student athlete, seeing as that's your focus?
I would say really be patient and know that it is a roller coaster. And just, yes, an emotional roller coaster. Um, because, it's a lot of pressure for a 17, 18-year-old kid to have grown adults, one, contacting them constantly saying, hey, can you visit us here at this time? Or, you know what, we've been watching your film and we really get to know you. That's very intimidating sometimes for students.
Right.
And so a lot of times they haven't talked to an adult outside of maybe their coach, their parent, an immediate family, just really having that one-on-one conversation. And some students are more comfortable with that than others. And so the biggest thing in the recruiting process is just being there for your student athlete and helping them through that emotional process. I think that is probably the most surprising of all of the things that the parents face. They think it's just a pretty smooth process. But one day, you could have 5 or 6 coaches really, contacting you and saying, hey, can you come visit? And then a couple days later, you don't hear anything. And
Oh,
yes, or you're watching Twitter and you're seeing offers pouring in for other people, and you're like, hey, what about me? So really just reinforcing to your student that, hey, don't take it personal. It's not about you. They have a job to do. The coaches have a job to do, and they have certain things that they are looking for. But you will find your place. You just got to hang in there, and where you will be the best place for you.
right, right. That is such great advice. We did not go through that with our youngest son when he went to college, because he decided to go D3. So we didn't have that whole recruiting process, which I'm thankful for, because I think it would have made me a little crazy. But what I do remember, though, is because ultimately he decided to go D3. He probably could have maybe gone D2, definitely not D1 for basketball, but maybe D2. But what I remember are a couple companies reaching out to us about how they could help us market him to coaches and what have you. And I remember going to the meeting and sitting down and listening to the conversation. And I'm saying to myself, have they seen him play? I mean, he was a decent player, but the way they were talking, they were going to get him in front of this coach and that coach. And I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. We knew the level of his talent and he knew the level of his talent. So we just decided, no, we're just gonna go the D3 route because for him it was a matter of just continuing his sport as a way, as an outlet for him in school more than thinking he was going on professionally or what have you.
Absolutely. There are lots of other companies out there that are recruiting companies. And I will, full disclosure, with my oldest son, we bought into one of those
Mm,
companies. And but after I quickly, shelled out the money,
yeah.
I'm like, hey, I'm doing all of the work. And to your point, they're not evaluating your student on the level that someone can personally. With my practice, I have my students get evaluated, whether that be from a write up from their coach or from their trainer. And if they don't have one, then I recommend several people for them to go to say what level of play is best for you. And then once we have that decided, then I'm doing the academic side of, what is your major, your geography present. Preference. Do you want a big or a small school? Do you want it in a city or a rural area?
Mhm.
All of those different preferences. Do you want, a school that has a big Greek presence? So between the academic side and then the evaluation from the athletic side, we mirror the two and then focus on what camps and showcases and which colleges to target based on the combination. You're not going to get that from some of the larger companies because they don't know your child.
Exactly, exactly. Again, we're here this evening with Janae McCullough Boyd, CEO of More Than Athletics LLC, where she focuses on working with student athletes with the emphasis on the word student. So please make sure you pay attention to that. And I just want to share with you real quickly Janae's website. So if you have a student athlete and you are looking for someone to help you guide your student through that process, this is Janae's website, More Than Athletics. So definitely, check her out. And who knows, you may have a student who's getting a great deal, but again, make sure you do that. Again, folks, join the conversation. Love to hear from you. So Janae, in your, when I was reading your bio, you talked about some of the community work you do, and I know we talk a lot to our students about giving back to their communities and being involved outside of the classroom whenever possible. So tell us about some of the things that you do out in your community, the ways that you give back.
Um, One way is, like I said, I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, skiwi to all my sorors, and have been in the sorority for 23 years now. I'm currently the president of our local chapter, Iota Chi Omega, here in Fort Wayne, and we always are, very involved in the educational system, women's health, mental health. So always either organizing activities around that and making sure that we're either giving our time, money, resources to help our community.
Okay.
Um, And then another organization I'm a part of is Follinger Foundation. I'm currently the vice chairman of the board of directors, and we support local nonprofits in different ways with, leadership, identifying different leaders and other nonprofits and helping support them. And also, we have our own initiatives. That are geared toward youth and family and just helping people get from either in crisis, and the goal is to get them to thriving. So those are two of the organizations that I'm currently involved with now, but I have done junior achievement in the past for many, many years. And again, sit on boards that have to deal with education and young people.
Okay, yes, it's so important to give back. And as we said, we encourage our students to do that on a regular basis. It was a little difficult during COVID times to find those opportunities to do that because, we were all kind of on lockdown. But as we're starting to open up a little quicker than I expected, um, but as we're starting to open up, we're definitely encouraging our students to take part in whatever community activities that align with their interests. And we always tell students, don't go and do something just because you think it's going to look good on your college application. Do it because it's something that is of interest to you, so that when you're going there and you're participating in whatever that activity may be, that you're doing so in a way that aligns with your spirit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I think that is definitely what an IEC helps with
Mm,
students, because I think a lot of times students just hear some of the typical organizations,
mm,
and we really help expand their minds and their horizons and opportunities of what is out there. And so having them learn about themselves and their
mhm,
passions really creates them to learn about the path that they want to take, whether it's volunteer opportunities, internships, eventually the major they want to go into. Exposing them to a wide variety of different things is truly helping them find their passion.
Yes, that is so true. That is so true because, they're 16, 17, 18 years old and they're still trying to figure out who they are.
Yes,
So part of the work we do is helping them figure who they are at this stage of their life.
yeah, and it's okay if they change, and
Yeah.
that's what I tell them, and tell their parents as well. Nothing is set in stone. It,
Mm.
it is a growing process and a learning process, and what you like today may not be what you like tomorrow, and it's okay.
Yes,
So,
that is so true. For those of you that are interested in following Janae on social media, you could follow her on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and Pinterest at MT Athletics LLC. So make sure you write that down. You can always come back and watch the video again to make sure that you have this. But these are definitely ways that you can connect with her on social media. We're all social media people. My husband says he thinks that my phone has now grown out of my hip because I always have it. And I said, no, I don't have it on my hip. I usually have it in my hand. So, but again, it's become a lifesaver. And with this, with COVID and everybody pivoting to virtual, social media has become even more important. So as a business person, where do you or how do you find the use of social media in enhancing your business?
well, full disclosure, since I'm an accountant by trade, and an IEC, the creative parts not my forte. But I love to be on social media. So definitely, showcasing my students,
Mm,
celebrating them when they are at showcases or camps or college days. That has been probably some of my favorite things. as far as social media, but then also just putting out information about, SAT prep or dates, and just advertising my business in general. So that has truly been a learning process for me as an entrepreneur.
Oh, it certainly is. And let me just share another screen with you so you can also connect with Janae on LinkedIn. And this is her LinkedIn profile. So when you look for her, you'll look for that More Than Athletics, and you'll see her on there. So again, and just a little hint with people, when if you're going to connect with her on LinkedIn after watching this, when you go on to connect, don't just hit connect. Hit the part where it says personalized note and say, "Hey, Janae, we saw you in conversation with Dr. B, and we'd love to connect with you on LinkedIn." So let her know how you found out about her. Don't just hit that, that instant connect. That makes me crazy. And people do it, but it's one of those things that as you start using LinkedIn more and more, you'll learn to do that. Again, we're here with Janae McCullough Boyd, who is the CEO of More Than Athletics, LLC. Please make sure if you have any comments or you want to join the conversation that you let us know, because we definitely want to have conversation with all of you folks. So Janae, tell me about, so we're both in IECA, so tell me about your work within IECA as a member. I know that you lead one of the affinity groups, so tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so I co-chair currently the Black IECs affinity group in IECA, which you formerly were the co-chairs. Well, you've handed it off because you've gone on to do bigger and better things, and so, but that has been an amazing experience, getting to know other IECs, getting to know other IECs going through similar things. Also, I attend the monthly associate roundtable of IECA, and also just learning from people in similar stages of the
Mhm.
business as I am. And then also getting a mentor, you, Dr. B, has taken me under your wing, and really just learning from your experience. That's really what IECA, I think the gift is of our organization. We are some of the most giving people of our knowledge, as you stated before. Um, a lot of people think, oh, well, aren't you in direct competition with another IEC? And I'm like, no, because no one can do it like me.
Right.
And so everyone has their own flavor and specialty, and ways of doing things. But the synergy in the group and sharing has just been amazing. And I'm so proud and blessed to be able to have a leadership role in the organization, even very, very early on in my career.
Yeah, that's so important. And it's funny because I think about how much we tell our students about leadership and the importance of it, whether it's a title or whether it's situational leadership. But we talk to our students all the time about how do you show up? How do you show up within an organization? And just the professional organizations that you belong to. So, you just talked about the importance for you of belonging to your sorority, and what that does for you, and belonging to IECA and other organizations. So again, that's something we really stress with our students. Find those professional organizations, again, that align with your maybe future career interests, because you're still trying to figure out what it is, what problems there are that you want to solve. But I know as a professional, and I know Janae thinks is as a professional, that it's important to be part of those associations for the networking, for the mentoring, for the camaraderie, and just for having that professional credential. It's really something that we strongly believe in.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So one of the things I always love to do is ask guests about books that or a book that they would recommend. So you actually recommended two books.
Mhm.
So tell us why you recommended these books.
So the first book is The Truth About College Admissions. And yes, and that is actually the book that is recommended through our practicum. And it gives you just a step by step overall guide to what you can expect through the college admissions process. And it's just a very helpful basis of knowledge. So if you are a parent that is about to start the process, I highly recommend that. And then the second book is Grown and Flown. And yes, and they also have a website and a newsletter that is fabulous as well. I actually gift that book to all of my rising senior parents
Okay.
to help them transition and get prepared for their students flying the net, leaving the coop and transitioning to college. Because I think a lot of times parents think that they're the only ones going through the process
Yes.
of their child that is growing up into a young adult, and you're trying to figure out, where do you fit in? Do I still parent, or
Mm,
how do I guide? So just trying to transition and marry those two of still being the parent, but also letting your child lead, and assisting
mhm.
them can be a pretty, touchy situation at
Right.
times, or unfamiliar territory. So that book really helps with that.
Okay, so let me just show both of these books again. So, The Truth About College Admissions by Brennan Barnett and Rick Clark. Rick Clark is the director of admission at Georgia Tech. And Brennan is a high school college counseling director. And he's also working, doing something with the Khan Academy Lab School. And then Grown and Flown, How to Support Your Teen, Stay Close as a Family, and Raise Independent Adults by Lisa Heffernan and Mary Dell Harrington. And as Janae said, they do have a website, and they also have a couple of Facebook groups
Yeah.
um, that are, you'll see, just go on Facebook and Google Grown and Flown, and you will find it. I love the idea that you give this book to families whose students are heading off, because again, sometimes you think you're the only one going through this madness.
Yeah.
And
But no, what you're going through is pretty normal.
yes, yeah, that is so true. That is so true. And the information, oh my God, sometimes it's like information overload with what's happening. I mean, so many changes have come about. Um, some organically, but some because of COVID. It's caused people to pivot. Our biggest thing was, with testing, test optional or not test optional. I just heard today North Carolina is going to go back to requiring tests. I'm like, oh man, I was praying they would stay test optional, but I guess not. I'm not happy with that, and I'm not happy that I have to tell my juniors that, yeah, you definitely need to make sure, if we're applying to one of the public universities and colleges in North Carolina, we need a test.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
yes. And that's the same with student athletes and the NCAA and the
Mm,
NAIA. They've gone back and forth with requiring students to have tests. It looks like they're moving more toward not requiring the test,
yeah.
but they're not completely there yet. They did it for NCAA, did it for the class of 2021 and the class of 2022, and then it is on the table as a governing body whether to get rid of the test or not. And then the NAIA currently has where you can meet two of the three requirements to be eligible. And one of those is the testing requirement. So if you meet the other two, then you don't have to worry about the testing requirement.
Okay, and that is so important to know. Again, we're with Janae McCullough Boyd, CEO of More Than Athletics LLC. please throw your comments in there. Like I said, join the conversation. So, Janae, with all that's going on, all the different roles that you have in life, how do you practice self-care? How do you take care of Janae?
So my husband's watching this right now. He's probably cracking up. Um, so, so it's really a struggle. And because, I think when you're in this profession, you are naturally a caregiver and you want to help people. But you quickly realize that your tank can get depleted. So my biggest thing definitely is just I have a small core group of girlfriends that I am close with. And, if I'm stressing or just really need to have a little bit of a break, I know I can pick up the phone and call or text. And then we try to make sure that we regularly meet and just have, lunch or dinner, and decompress. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's so important to do that. And like you said, I think just because we're in a helping profession, you can really get caught up in helping and forget to help yourself.
absolutely, absolutely. And I also will say lots of prayer as well. That is definitely the key. Just spirituality and prayer definitely calms nerves and anxiety for me.
Yeah, that is so true. I got so caught up in, we're here in COVID and we were isolated and, you're in the house and, you can't go to the gym and you can't do this, and really started picking up walking again because then I could listen to podcasts while I was walking. But just recently I said, okay, the world is opening back up. We're going to be on these college tours. It's a lot of walking and you need a lot of stamina. So even though I've been walking, I don't know if I've been walking to the level that I need to walk. So I just started going back. I just started going to a personal trainer. And
Oh, good.
oh my goodness. She is Samantha. Yep, I'm feeling it every time I leave your studio. I feel it. So I'll see her tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock. So we shall see how that's going to go. I told her, I said, oh my goodness. I said, I hope my bones and stuff last through this.
Yes, that actually worries me. We just got back this morning from Bucknell University with my youngest son. Beautiful campus, but
Mhm.
lots of hills and lots of
Oh,
walking. And I have in the next month or two, three large campus tours where each of them are like 5 or 6 schools on each of the tours. And yesterday, going through the tour, I was like, girl, you better get it together real quick. So,
oh, I know it is. It's so interesting. So when you go, so because you specialize in student athletes, when you go on tours, do you ever have the opportunity to meet with anyone in the athletic departments, prior to the tour or after the tour, and have conversations with people in different departments?
so yesterday was a tour based on my youngest son. So I was able to meet several coaches during that time. As I'm going out into the field, as a newer IEC, it'll just be strictly admissions. Now, I
Okay.
do have other opportunities to meet with coaches because of another organization that I'm a part of, and that's a training facility here in town. And we work very closely or have great relationships with college coaches all over the country. And so I can really learn from them of what they're looking for. Also going to showcases and camps, and then talking to different sports analysts as well. That gives me the real insight on the athletic side. So
Okay, that sounds great. Because I was just thinking, I think the only time I went on a college tour where we kind of delved a little bit more than usual into athletics is when we went to the University of Alabama,
yeah.
because they just wanted to tell us about their football program. And we went into the center where we could see the Heisman trophies that different players had won over the years, and I remember thinking, wow, they take us right to the football field. Okay. That was kind of, that was interesting. But we did learn quite a bit about their program, and actually their team was on the field practicing, which was a big no to go near the door and look out there because it's top secret. So I got my hand slapped for walking over to that door, looking out the window. But it
Yes.
was definitely interesting. So Janae,
Yes.
so what last advice or words would you like to give to parents or to student athletes or to anyone that's watching this now or watching this on the replay? And folks, it will be available on the replay on my Facebook page and on my YouTube channel.
The biggest thing I can say is start early. Start early on the recruiting side. And then on the academic side, start early as far as researching different schools to figure out what your student likes and what they don't like. I take students as early as eighth grade.
Okay.
But the recruiting side really starts picking up around that ninth, 10th grade level. So getting them exposed to showcases and camps, getting them exposed to college campuses, take a tour. Add that to your vacation schedule.
Mhm.
On the way to North Carolina,
Mhm.
stop at a school. On spring break, add tag that on to the end of your vacation. During the summertime, try to visit a couple of campuses because the more and more that they're exposed, the more and more that transition from high school to college
Mhm.
will be best. So have that conversation early. A lot of times when I work with students and families, it's their junior, senior year, and it's
Mhm.
the first time that they've ever talked about college admissions.
Mhm.
And the parents are like, hey, I never knew that, my student wanted certain things in a college. So start those conversations early. It's not early enough. You can do it eighth grade, ninth grade. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening. I feel like every time I have one of these conversations with someone, I learn something new every time. So I definitely appreciate you taking time out of your evening to share your expertise with us and also to help people understand a little bit more about what an IEC does and also the one of the specialties that may be within the field if that's something someone was interested in. Um, so, folks, thank you for joining in. Those of you that are kind of watching on the sly, and those of you that are going to watch this on the replay, it's never too late to comment because I'm always monitoring the comment sections, whether it's in the replay on YouTube or the replay on Facebook. So please make sure you do that. We'd love to have you join in next week as we bring another college and career conversation with Dr. B. And I will have a guest next week. I will put up that event on Facebook probably by Wednesday so that you'll know who we'll have by the end of the day on Wednesday. Again, Janae, thank you so much for joining in. I so appreciate you taking the time. I appreciate your leadership within the Black IEC's affinity group. And I just really appreciate the work that you're doing to make it a better experience for young student athletes.
Well, thank you so much. Those are very flattering words, and especially coming from you. And I appreciate that so much. And thank you for giving me the platform to share my story and my passions today. I appreciate that.
Okay. You are welcome. So, folks, next Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern. Well, I was getting ready to say, so we have a time change coming up, folks. So
Ah,
it won't be Eastern Standard Time, it'll be Eastern Daylight Time because time changes on this coming Sunday. So, folks, join in. Hope to see you there. It's still 7 p.m. in my time zone. So I will see you next week. And everyone, take care. Janae, hold on for a second. See you, everybody, next Monday. Be good.